thought last week was the beginning of, or the end of summer, but I think actually today might be the end of summer, right? Based on getting to see everyone back from their vacations. I hope you all enjoyed your time. We all need a break at times. Because when we don't get breaks, there's a tendency for us to get very caught up in the rat race. We have assignments, deadlines, projects that are due at a certain time, papers that need to be written and perhaps rewritten because we know that it's not up to the mark. And quite often, as we get engrossed in this perpetual running in circles, we have a tendency to get anxious about how things are going to be tomorrow. We get nervous. We get worried about what it's going to be like after this, or how we will accomplish the next thing that lies ahead of us. Today's gospel passage is for us in that sense. Because it says, as we've heard many times before, this is Jesus' teachings to the disciples on the rationale for why worrying makes no sense. Why it's in fact counterproductive to worry about tomorrow. Now, as we begin this passage, verse 25 starts with a word in English, therefore. It's important for us to understand that whenever you find that word, therefore, you should always read what happens before that. Because something would have built up to this point where now Jesus is saying, therefore. So what happened just before this? Well, it's the verse that goes like this: no one can serve two masters, for a slave will either hate one and love the other, or is devoted to the one and will despise the other. You cannot serve God and... How's it go? Well, in our previous church, we had an uncle whose last name was Mammon, so he didn't like this verse. Although it was still true in that case also. But he didn't like that his kids would quote that verse to him. In this passage, therefore, is trying to get us to realize that as we are putting into focus what is God in relation to what is the rest of our life about. And it's very important because how we set that balance will determine the quality of our life, will determine the quality of our soul, and will determine what we end up passing on to our children after us. Jesus makes it very clear, and it's so obvious to us. And the truth is that God has given us this thing, this body. God has given us this life, this breath. None of us woke up in the morning and said, I should really have a body today. No one woke up saying, I hope I can breathe. We all just got it. We were all given it by the grace of God. And if God is the one who gives us our body, and if He's the one who gives us our breath, then the stuff that is exterior to it, that's external to it, wouldn't God also take care of? That's the very simple premise that He says. And so He's saying if God is going to take care of all the internal things already, if He's already doing that, isn't it obvious He'll take care of the external? And if He's going to take care of the external, then just go ahead and relax. Don't worry about all those other things, about all those other details, and instead, take that energy, take that focus, and shift it. When you get down to verse 33, we see the key to this passage. But strive first for the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all of these things shall be given to you as well. Let me talk a little bit about this nature of worrying. Worrying is a little different than being concerned. To say that I'm not going to worry about something isn't the same thing as saying I don't care anymore about it. That was the one phrase my mom hated the most when I said it. I don't care. Who cares? That irritated her so much because we should care. As Christians, whenever Christians stop caring is when problems around us start to amplify. Because when Christians stop caring, then nothing's going to get accomplished. We do need to care and have a sense of concern about what lies ahead of us. But the difference between worrying and concern has been put this way. A person who worries sees a problem, whereas a person who is concerned solves a problem. And if you think about it, think about the moments when you worry. How productive are we being when we worry? There's some psychologists who say that worry is a behavior. It's not a behavior in the sense that we're doing something, but it's a behavior in the sense that it is a response to how we interpret the situation around us. Why do we worry about things instead of doing things? Quite often it's because we think that things are out of our control, or to an extent, only slightly under our control. If we know that we have something under control, we're not going to worry about it. That's always the case. When you feel in control, you don't worry. Worry starts to creep up when there are all these external factors that you cannot account for, that you don't have control over. And then it's the wrestling of our mind that tries to cope with the inability to control the situation around us that leads us to this case where we start to worry. But worrying is a very debilitating sort of state of mind. Because when we worry, we're not actually doing anything. We're just only thinking about how we can't do something or how we wish we could do something, perhaps. And at any point in time when we are worrying, we're not making actual progress. This is partly why Jesus says, stop worrying. Stop worrying. You're not actually doing anything. And then the examples that he gives an example of a bird. See, a bird doesn't worry about its food. That's not to say that a bird isn't concerned about its next meal. All animals are concerned about their next meal. They have to work to get it. Unless they live in a zoo, they need to go out and find their food. And so Jesus is saying that there is going to be an active nature of a Christian's life that must replace our worry. There's some things that we worry about, and then we become either paralyzed in our worry about it, or we become distracted by the worry itself so that we're unable to actually move forward. Jesus says, just trust God in that as you work, as you move forward, God is the one who makes it all work out. Anytime we go to work, we're not assured a paycheck. But you might say, I am assured a paycheck because I worked 80 hours, or I worked X number of hours in this 2-week period. I am assured that I will get a paycheck. Says you. At any moment, anything can happen. Then do we realize that even the things that we work for are actually just God's grace to us? When we start to forget that, when we start to think that the things that we are working towards are actually our merits and our achievements, then yes, I can understand how we will then begin to start worrying about other things. Because if I can control a little, I should be able to control more over the course of time as I hone my skills and abilities. But that's not the case, says Jesus. Birds are excellent in following their natural instincts. They know where to find food at the right season and the right time. They're smart. But they still rely on God. God is still the one who feeds them. You look also then at the flowers of the field. We look at that flower, we think to ourselves, what did it do? But actually, if you think about it, everything that is about that flower has been given to that flower. Its nutrients, where did it come from? From the ground. Where did the energy come from? From the sun. What did the flower do? The flower just used these gifts and was just being upon it. That's it. It just rested in the simple idea that it's supposed to do what it's supposed to do, and nothing more, nothing less. To worry for us is not something that we were born with. No one is a born worrier. An infant doesn't come out of the womb saying, oh man, I wonder if I'll ever get my next meal. An infant never has to even worry about whether there are parents who love it. It just assumes that fact, and it cries out, it does its work, mind you, to make sure that it then stays in line with that faith that it has. It's interesting then, because a child who is most helpless worries the least. And we who start to acquire skills, start to acquire the ability to do things for ourselves, we start to worry. Notice that connection. and realize that what God is asking us to do is shift our focus off of wasteful worry and shift it instead on seeking God's kingdom. You know, one of everybody's favorite psalms is which one? Psalm 23, right? Everyone knows it's probably the most famous psalm in the entire book. And in there, there's a line that says, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." Why is that? Because when you read the verse just above it, it says, "You have prepared a table for me in your presence." When the psalmist understood that he must let go of everything and instead accept the presence of God, seeking his face first, everything else was added to him. He did not have to chase goodness. He did not have to chase anything other than the face of God. And so it becomes a very powerful and challenging thing for us because we chase a lot of things. There's so many things that we chase. As parents, we chase the highest levels of academic excellence from our kids. We expect that they would meet certain requirements. Requirements probably higher than the requirements that our own parents set on us. Yes, it's because we love them. It's because we want them to excel and exceed. But then we're so nervous about it that even on Sunday they must study. Even during the prayer meeting, no, you don't have to go to the prayer meeting and study. Family prayer time, we'll cut it short today because I have a project that's due tomorrow. I have a deadline that I have to meet. And then you start to see what we're really chasing, what we're really worried about. And instead, if we were to reprioritize and put God first, if we were to put the kingdom of God first, I'm not saying that things will be always smooth, but God will take care of it. God will always take care of it. I've never met a person who trusted in God and said that God has failed them. I've never met a person who said that I expected to seek God first, but I wasn't satisfied in it because I really wanted something else. I've never met someone who said that. In fact, it's always the opposite. Anyone who seeks after God, they end up being very content with anything. Whether they're well-to-do or whether they're not so well-to-do, they have a joy that's in them that is indescribable. And so Jesus is trying to convince us, like we knew as a baby, we are not in control. God is in control. God is in control of every little detail of the entire universe. You know, there's this word that we use in mathematics called random. Anyone know what that word means? It's actually kind of hard to describe. Anyone knows where you can find pure, true randomness? It's also very hard to find. I remember when we were studying computer programming and I realized what the code was for a random string generator and how systematic it was. And I thought to myself, this isn't random. Basically, random is what we say to things that we don't understand fully the processes of. And then in mathematics, we like to assume that there is such a concept as pure random. And we like to just describe it that way. But really, in this universe, with God in control, there's no such thing as random. There's no such thing as chance. There's no such thing as luck. God's in control. He takes care of our next paycheck. He takes care of us as we're driving. He takes care of us for that exam, for that paper, the term paper. He does everything. We just need to trust in Him. We need to put Him first and take all that energy, all that nervousness that we have that's not doing us any good. And instead, just in those times, say, thank you, God. Thank you. That would be a more productive use of our energy. Because in thanking God, there's a lot more that can be done than in worrying about whether we can control the situation or not. So I pray, and as we think about this passage, and as we meditate on its own relevance to our own specific lives, that we would try and evaluate what are the things that worry us the most. Our children's health and safety when they go to school, our job security, the next payments, how will it be met, the health of our parents far away. As we worry about those things, let's think about what good is it doing? And instead now, submit all those things into God's hands, knowing that He has taken care of Chidanamaji. He will take care of the next paycheck. He will take care of my kids when they go to school. Everything is in God's hands. Trust in Him. Trust in Him. And the Lord strengthen us so that we would be like babies and not have to worry because God has His hands on us. If one of you could please lead us in the word.